We're chatting with Rudy Gatlin, one-third of the legendary Gatlin Brothers. They're going to be at the Harvester Performance Center in Rocky Mount this Saturday night, January 26th. Rudy, first off, thanks for taking the time to stop by and chat with us. You guys are doing a bunch of shows. I think you're in Oklahoma the night before you come to Virginia. That's a pretty grueling schedule for a young guy like yourself, isn't it?
Oh yeah, young was at 66. Yeah, well, you know what's weird? I'm 66. Wait a minute. Sometimes I feel like I'm 66, and most of the time, thank God, I feel a lot younger. And I'm able to, and Larry and Steve were all able to do things. This past weekend, a good example. Went to Texas, and it was a crazy trip, but early mornings, late nights, putting the show in, doing the show, and what we do. It amazes me sometimes that we're still able to do it. But we're glad and thankful that we are still able to do it. Yeah, we go to Oklahoma, and then early flight the next day, and then an early flight to Myrtle Beach after that. So, hey, it's what we do. It's not for everybody, you know.
Well, that's fabulous.
This life is crazy. It's not for everybody.
I've heard some artists that I've talked to say that keeping the schedule like we used to do in the 90s or the 80s, whenever, it actually helps keep me young. A lot of people would think it makes you older and takes a toll on you, but I'm hearing more and more from guys like you that it's actually what does keep you young, getting out there and working still.
Well, I guess, yes, I'm sure it does. I wouldn't know if it didn't because I've never not done it.
Right.
Maybe if we took off. Well, we've slowed down quite a bit, so I guess we kind of have an idea that it would make you feel old. Toby Keith didn't tell me. Toby Keith's manager, Terry Kimball. I talked to him the other day, and he wrote. Toby wrote the closing credits song for Clint Eastwood's new movie, The Mule. That's Toby's song. Toby was talking to Clint earlier at a golf tournament out in California and said, Clint, you're 88 years old. How do you do it? You still make movies. You still go. And Clint said, don't let the old man in. Wow. And Toby went and wrote that song, and I guess it's titled, Don't Let the Old Man In. So that's, no truer words maybe ever spoken. And those right there to help us remain physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally young, as well as to whatever degree we can stay young. But don't let that old guy in, because as soon as you let the old guy in, you're going to look, act, feel, and older. Nothing wrong with getting old. We want to get older, and I know there's going to be come a point in time when we might not be young and feel young, and we might act a lot old, but hopefully it's not here right now.
Hopefully not. We're chatting with Rudy Gatlin. He and the Gatlin Brothers are going to be at the Harvester Performance Center in Rocky Mount this Saturday, January 26th. Let's go back to the beginning here, Rudy. You started pretty young there in Abilene, Texas. The whole family, and it was interesting because you just mentioned, hey, this is what I've always been doing. You were doing it even before some people, though. You were on stage, what, age 4 or 5 or 6, something like that?
Well, I was 2.5. Steve was 4, and Larry was 6 when we won a little talent show in Abilene, Texas, and March 8th of 1955. So this March 8th will be 64 years, and that's right. Next year will be our 65th anniversary, and you'll be hearing more about that because I made a deal out of it. We made a little bit of a deal out of it on the 60th 5 years ago. This 65th. Let's make a little bit bigger deal out of it.
There you
We
go.
might not be around for the 70th, but it was shortly thereafter we started singing on the Slim Willett TV show, KRBC TV in Abilene, Texas. Got the pictures to prove it right there. Those little black and white pictures.
Well, the harmonies have gotten a little bit
outfit.
better since then, right?
The what?
Your harmonies have gotten a little bit tighter and a little better since then, right?
Well, they probably have, and we don't have any early. We've got a real rough recording of us, a home recording. But to be perfectly honest with you, it wasn't very long before we were singing tight harmonies, and that's what God said for us to do. So He gave us the ability to do it. And we worked on it a little bit. Mom and Dad were very instructive, and helping us but we just jumped in there and started singing. And it was something, that became very natural. So, but I think we've gotten looser through the years. You do. You just kind of, we think we throw it together. We think we sing together, but when we hear the Isaacs or when we hear the Martins or when we hear other groups that really sing together,
right,
we say to ourselves, gosh, we need to tighten up a little bit, or we've got a little loose.
Well, it keeps you on your toes anyway, right? The album in 2015 was called Gospel According to Gatlin. Talk about that album a little bit, and I guess you guys are still playing some stuff from that album, correct?
Well, we not as much as we did when it was released, but maybe we might need to go back there and do a few tunes. That was the album we were supposed to do before the Pilgrimage album that we released back in 2009, 2007. Yeah. Mike Curverts and stuff that Larry was writing, and said, let's do the gospel thing, then do, then Johnny Cash is Dead and His House Burned Down came along, and he liked that. He said, let's go with that. So we finished that project, The Pilgrimage, in 2007, and it wasn't until a couple of years ago we finally got around to finishing that gospel project that led to the whole deal with Curb, the 2-record deal back. We started talking to them about that in 2005 or 6. But it's a different, edgy. It's good. It's a dang good CD, album, whatever you want to call it. We're proud of it, and I wish everybody had a copy. It's that good.
Yeah, I listened to some cuts from it before the interview, and you're right. It is good, and it's a little bit of a different spin on some things, and it's definitely Gatlin Brothers, and I think that's probably the highest compliment right there. You guys are going to be at the Harvester in Rocky Mount this Saturday night. Okay, Rudy, I'm a big baseball fan, so take us back to late October 1989. You guys are singing the national anthem, or you're supposed to, and then that earthquake hits there at Candlestick Park. What was that experience like?
Well, unbelievable, first of all, because I'd never been in an earthquake, I don't believe, and we were standing right there in front of the dugout, and all of a sudden a big roll, felt like a rolling pin underneath the ground came, and about 3 or 4 feet high, and it just kind of rolled out. And it happened so quickly. I mean, it was just, and then I guess I kind of noticed that the stadium kind of swayed a little bit, the lights, but it was 8 seconds, and it was over. And then all that other stuff afterwards was nuts. We had to go back into San Francisco, and everything had closed down. The airport had closed. And reports that, started coming in of all the devastation, and at first, everybody, earthquake, all this. But then the reports started coming in of all the collapsing of the interstates and all that, the bridges and all. And it got real solemn and real serious. And it was for quite some time. And we finally got over there 5 days later. Yeah, we stayed in San Francisco 5 days before we get out. And came back 5 days after that to do or 10 days, whenever it was, after they resumed the series and sang the national anthem. And what an experience. Yeah, is that coming up on the 30th anniversary of that?
Yeah, 1989,
right?
Yeah. Incredible. And I know, I've heard that you guys are all big baseball fans. You've sung the national anthem at the World Series some other times, haven't you?
We have. I think the 85 World Series between Kansas City and St. Louis.
Okay.
And we've done a lot of baseball games, some football games, different various bowls, college football bowls, a couple of pro games, Dallas Cowboys, pro football games. I guess they've still got a pro football team there. So, wait a minute. That wasn't very nice.
Oh, wow. Hey, you went there, not me.
I did.
Well, can you talk about that experience? You've sung in front of some big crowds on some big stages, no doubt about it. How is it different when you go to sing one song in front of a sports crowd that may or may not know the Gatlin Brothers? And a lot of times there's 50, 60, sometimes 70, 80,000 people surrounding you in the stadium. Is it different, or is it because you've been doing it so long, it's just sort of second nature for you?
It's kind of second nature.
Okay.
I mean, we are used to, now 30 years ago, 40 years ago, the first time, ooh, yeah,
Okay.
it was quite. It was a wow, and you had to get used to the delay. Sometimes the center speaker would be out center
Uh-huh.
field, and it's a 2 or 3 second delay. It's like, oh, say, can you? And then all of a sudden, oh, say, can you? 2 or 3 seconds behind you. So you
Okay.
got to get used to that. You just lock into what you're doing right there at home plate. You just don't listen to anything else. And since we've done it so much, and since we've sung for big crowds and big festivals and big stadiums, since we've been on TV, that 40 or 50 million people might have been tuning in, like on the Carson, the Tonight shows back when Johnny Carson was hosting, at 11 o'clock at night. Thinking back on it, that was the only music event on TV. Oh yeah, that
Yeah.
was it.
That's a different kind
There
of a
wasn't-
pressure there, huh?
There weren't other TV shows. There wasn't MTV. There were no other musical entertainment shows. You were the musical act on TV at that time. So I didn't really think about that till later on. We just kind of, 30, 40 million people watching. You get used to it and you do it. It gets your blood, gets your blood circulating a little bit. You get a little excited. It's a nervous excitement. But that's the way you should be. You should be a little fired up, before you go do something like that.
Sure. Well, this Saturday at the Harvester in Rocky Mount, any nerves there? Do you still get a little bit excited before you take the stage? Just a little bit, maybe?
Well, you do. You get a little fired up. It's showtime.
Yeah.
And any performer would probably tell you the same thing, whether they're a dancer, a comedian, an actor, whatever you're doing, whatever you're performing on stage, in front of the camera, doing whatever, you got to get mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually prepared. And I guess some people just walk out there and turn it on, and we do to some extent, but I think about it and walk around and shake a little bit and loosen up, bend over and do some stretches and exercise and warm up the voice. And, you're just like a football player, basketball player. You warm up the body, you warm up the throat. You get ready, and, you don't go out there rolling your hat brim. You go out there and put it on the top shelf and, hey, here we go. Let's do it. So, yeah, it'll be a neat experience, like they all are. That every audience is kind of unique, and we enjoy what we do. We enjoy very much what we do. So, I'm glad people still pay their hard-earned money to come see us.
Cool.
Because when they stop, oh boy, I'm in trouble.
Cool
I
stuff.
can do a lot of other stuff. I just don't want to have to.
That's right. That's right. We're chatting with a true music legend, Rudy Gatlin. A couple more questions for you here, Rudy, then we'll let you run. 33 top 40 hits, I think, Grammys, ACM awards. What's next for you? You mentioned the 65th anniversary. It's going to be some big stuff tied with that. What else does the future hold? Not sure yet, or you got some other big plans that you might want to talk about?
Oh, we always have a few projects in the works, as they say. I mean, maybe a tribute album that we're going to do to ourselves. Because until somebody comes up and says, "Hey, we want to do a tribute album," I guess we're going to have to put it together. And I've had a lot of artists come up when I mention it to them. They say, "Oh, I want to sing," like Alison Krauss wants to sing. Oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank. "Love of a Lifetime."
Okay.
You are the love of a lifetime. That's her favorite song. She used to do it with a group before she was Alison Krauss. I think it was the Collingsworth band or something like that. And she loved that song. And we'll get maybe any number of artists to do their favorite Gatlin song, come in and do it with us, and put that out sometime in the near future when we get around to getting in the studio and doing it. So that's one project. I'm working on a 65th anniversary DVD. Got to put that together this year. I didn't make the 60th, but going to try to get together that footage and interviews and stuff. It's a big project. Got to do that this year though. So those are a couple things in the works, and no album projects, but other than the tribute album maybe. But just more of the same: touring, traveling, doing what we do. As long as we can do it.
Excellent stuff. Let me ask you one thing real quickly about the songwriting, because, Larry known so much for the songwriting, one of those guys that was writing his own material and y'all's material. How much do you get in on that with him? How much is that a family
None,
thing, or does he pretty much just go in the closet and
none.
just pump out these hits?
He just does it.
Does
And
he?
we, our deal was always let him write the songs, and I spent a lot of time in the studio making the records.
Okay.
And I mean, we all did, but I spent more time in the overdubs and the mixing and the mastering, and because we couldn't all be in the studio doing that. It'd be a waste of all of our times. And Larry was doing something else. Steve was taking care of stuff in the office, and it worked. Worked
Yeah.
pretty darn good.
Yeah, I think you've got the producer credits on a lot of those
Well,
albums,
we
right?
all have producer credits,
Okay.
and maybe I got some remix credits, but that's no big deal
I see.
I mean, to put my name out there to remix it with we tried to give the other guy that was at the studio credit, whoever was the engineer there that I remixed it with. I want to make sure they got credit, because
Okay.
it was a lot of them on the technical end of it. I don't know that technically. I just knew what kind of sounds good, and what I like to hear, and I tell him what I want to hear and what I think needs to be done. He goes over and pushes some buttons and turns some knobs, and voila! Oh, there it is. Beautiful.
There you go. There you go. Rudy, this has been a lot of fun. I love your energy and your spirit. Everybody can tell you're still passionate about the music, and I know you guys are going to bring that to the stage Saturday night at the Harvester. Hope you have a great time, and don't take so long to come back to Central Virginia here so often. Come around like every year or so.
Well, as long as they invite us, and they pay us a little bit and feed us pretty good, we'll shoot you out. We'll be back as often as we can.
Great stuff. Rudy Gatlin,
Thanks, Kyle.
the
Appreciate
Gatlin
it.
Brothers. Thank you, man.